Huippu Academy, and the other one is HealthBIO questionnaire. So I think this is not the last HealthBIO event. So if you want to influence what kind of this event would be next year, so please fill the form. But then I'm here to present health technology company, and as you can see, there is a long list of different kind of areas where the companies are, and especially now I want to mention the newest one is genomics, because we have just established a special interest group for those companies in that area, for example, genetic testing or analysis services or bioinformatics. Health technology also a very important part of health sector or health area, as well as pharma. As you can see, there is also health services and special services, which are very important for all this health area, because most of the companies are small. They need regulatory help or control manufacturing help, or clinical trials are the area where they need help. So that's one. Special services is very typical for all this health area. And SOTE, public social and health care services, they are like customers for all this health area. You might think, where is the biotechnology in this picture? Biotechnology is very important technology in both health technology and pharma. In health technology, for example, there are bioinformatics companies, in vitro diagnostics companies, biomaterials companies, genomics, and pharma you certainly know. So biotechnology is part of this health area. The turnover of health technology is 2.5 billion euros, and on the other hand, export value is 2.1 billion euros. This means that almost every product manufactured here is exported. And as you can see, there is a nice growth over the last decades. Every year the export has grown 5 to 10%. And what is also wonderful is that we export more than import. And now, meaning last year, the trade balance was positive 1 billion euros. That's a lot. But then back to health area, and especially trends, because we want to look forward and what's coming. And one typical thing for health area, for both technology and pharma, is regulation. Actually, this health area is very heavily regulated. But health area is also business to business. If we compare that to well-being technologies and services, that is not regulated, and that is mainly consumer business. But in the future, more and more technology companies will be interested in consumer business. And on the other hand, I believe that healthcare system will be interested in welfare solutions. And actually, there is an area between well-being and health, and that is, on the other hand, prevention, because we want to keep people healthy, and rehabilitation, because we need speedy recovery. So both medtech and well-being in companies are interested in that area. Cooperation between health tech and pharma is very interesting and important. And we already have hormonal coil, asthma inhalator, insulin pen, and I'm sure that there will be much more innovation from the cooperation between Healthtec and pharma. It's also obvious that services will be part of technology companies. Actually, many technology companies say that they are nowadays service companies. They have that product or that technology, but they have services, solutions, not individual products what they do. And finally, concerning whole health and well-being area is all of those new technologies listed there. Because we have seen that there are companies coming outside this health area and they are active in this area. So we need to take them into account as well. They will give a great added value to many, many companies. And actually, startups are one way to take those new technologies to companies. And Healthtec Finland, which is an association for healthtech companies, we have around 110 members right now, and we are building platform for healthtech companies, and we are also have close contacts to startup communities, because we believe in cooperation and we believe that those small dynamic companies could also bring new technologies to established companies. We are also, because we are a platform for companies, we have working groups which are very important places for companies to share their things, share experience, learn from each other. Regulatory issues, for example, is one of the most important area for healthtech companies, and we have very active regulatory working groups. And then for all of us, we have a national growth strategy in Finland. And it's very important that we will have that strategy in the future as well. So because of that strategy, our government is listening to us. They want to know what we need. They support us. And what we have to do is we have to show that this really is important industry. We have success stories so that politicians in the future also would believe in us. Well, SOTE reform is also very important, even if most of the health companies are in export business, because they need reference information. They need cooperation with hospitals. They need places where they can pilot their products. They need hospitals so that they could co-create things together with hospitals. And they also want to have their products marketed in our SOTE system, meaning that public procurement is very important. And of course, we need that value and effectiveness with the users' criteria when, for example, hospitals buy their products, not only the price of the product. Well, my final remark is Fihta. Maybe you have noticed that we don't mention Fihta anymore, or has it disappeared? Fihta is now Healthtec Finland. So if you knew Fihta, now it's time to get to know Healthtec Finland. And I wish you all welcome to look our website to see what we do. Okay, and with this word, I again want to wish you welcome. I'm a strong believer of cooperation, and today you all have good possibilities to strengthen your old contacts and find new one. So make advantage of this opportunity. And the next speaker, I think I don't have to present, because everybody knows Tero Piispasen. He had an important role in that HealthBIO program, and he's the man with Merja behind this event as well. He has told many times news about Finnish biotech, and every year the presentation is eagerly waited. This year is not accepted, especially because he told that he will tell something about medtech as well. So, welcome. Tero.
Thank you, Saara. While we are switching this technical equipment, I want to welcome you all to my hometown, especially our international guests, now that we have today also very nice weather, although pretty windy, and in fact the weather today is warmer in Lapland than in Turku. But anyhow, we've got lots of blue sky and good atmosphere, and that's the most important thing. To make HealthBIO true every year, this is thanks to our sponsors, and many of our sponsors are also long-term sponsors. So especially I want to thank our gold sponsors, Golster, Medfiles, who is turning 30 years, and Orion, who's turning 100 years, and then our silver sponsors, Biovian, EY, BBC, and TFS. Couple of minutes behind our schedule. I've got 42 slides to show to you. This means that I will have to run, and so I'll switch my presentation. Hope you can keep the pace. So last year, what has happened from last year's event? We have had 15 new startups created in 8 in Helsinki, no 7 in Helsinki, 6 in Turku, 1 in Kuopio, and 1 in Oulu. Of course, more companies as well, but I didn't get all the information I wanted, so maybe I'll put this next year. In Helsinki, we have got Disior, which has developed software for bone fracture treatment. Ilmo Biopharmaceuticals produces therapeutic proteins. Targeted Affinity makes antibody engineering. Nordic Genex makes DNA analysis for consumers. SGS makes blood tests and analysis. Acusense Health has developed a remote monitoring system for health, especially used in third countries like India. Askel Healthcare has developed orthopedic treatments to veterinary surgeons. In Kuopio, Cubius has made heart rate variability analysis software. Here in Turku, InMe, a 1-week-old company, has developed an health app for self-monitoring. Adesante has developed a virtual reality or artificial intelligence system which is used by surgeons who plan difficult operations. Chain makes antimicrobial coated medical devices. Precordier, a little bit like Cubius, makes cardiac monitoring devices. Avagen, genetic tests for horses, and Negen, which in fact was established last year, makes genetic tests for risk assessment. And then in Oulu, one of our life science accelerator companies, Serenion, makes measurement of brain function. So congratulations for all of these. Hopefully you can grow a lot. And of course, we do have growth opportunities available. For example, Nome is a Nordic and Transatlantic Mentor Program for life science startups, which is based on volunteer life science expert mentors from the Nordics and from the USA. If you get interested, please contact Hanna Halme of Turku Science Park. And hopefully everybody has seen that Eurostars has an ongoing call for about 1 week now. And there is a special promotional Swiss-Finnish call with special focus to bio and medical technologies. And Pyramidis, an EU project, provides up to 60,000 euro grants for companies who make collaboration with IT companies. There you go. Application deadline until October 10th. Okay, so what has happening in the industry? I'm saying that we are having tailwind behind us, so we are really raising at the moment. As Saara said, Finnish health technology industry has been growing a lot. So in fact, it represents 54% of all Finnish high-tech exports right now. This is mainly due to the fall of Nokia, but if you consider long term, this is for steady growth, and as Saara said, the industry has been growing roughly 10% per year. Market-wise, if you think about the development from 2015 to 2016, USA has grown and represents almost 40% of the health tech exports, where EU 32%, and interestingly, East Asia, meaning China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan, and South Korea, account already for 11 and 2.2% of the exports. And then it seems that direction is growing faster than the average. The Finnish in vitro diagnostics industry also made record high export rates last year, exporting 526 million, and also the trade balance was heavily positive, and in fact the trade balance as an average has grown 17.75% annually. I hope we can keep up with this pace. China is the largest export market because of there's lots of demand for diagnostics equipment, and also as Jens, within in vitro diagnostics industry, the reagents covered more than 50% of all exports. I was looking at Kauppalehti 1 week ago and noticed that Kauppalehti and Balance Consulting, they are registering the best or strongest companies in Finland. And I was looking at the best top 100 companies and noticed that there are 6 life sciences companies in there. Rank number 6 is Bayer, 31 is Biovian, 47 HiTest, and 63 Kyvogen. So well done for these. But of course then the question remains, who was number 1? And it was an IT consulting, small IT consulting company from Espoo, Supermetrics, making a small turnover but very profitable company. But all of these companies made all full 5 stars. Congratulations. Then I've noticed that several of our companies have grown fast. So I was looking at the 4-year records or their turnover changes. Noticed that MediSapiens was growing the fastest, 560% in 4 years. Optomed, 300%, PCB Medical, 250%, Biovian, 230%, and Biovian was still profitable, where the others didn't have enough cash flow to from their normal business. The first 3 got substantial investments though, but I will come back to these later. Then Kyvogen was growing 140%, Reagena, which all is showing 3-year figures, is also growing fast, and then HiTest 45% in 4 years. Then to individual companies which really made good achievements last year. I'm starting with Orion. Orion is 100 years today. Many people have said that Orion cannot keep up with their turnover growth, but still in the first half year of 2017, the net sales of Orion grew 3.1%, and operating profit was high and practically the same level as last year. Orion also made a agreement with Menarini Group for the Easyhaler product family, combination product for co-marketing and distribution. And they also made a strategic collaboration with University of Wisconsin in oncology. They submitted a marketing authorization application in EU for salmeterol fluticasone combined formulation in the Easyhaler product family. And last but not least, Reijo Salonen was nominated the Chief Technology Officer of the Year 2017 by the Finnish CTO. Congratulations, Orion and Reijo. Then Bayer, which has a strong presence in Finland and a big manufacturing plant unit in Turku, where Mirena originally was developed and launched. So Mirena product family sales exceeded 1 billion euros last year, which means that the Mirena product family is the first Finnish blockbuster drug ever. And thanks to that, Finnish Engineering Award 2017 was given to Bayer's Mirena R&D team. Then we continue with pharma drug development. We switch a couple of digits smaller companies. Healthtec made a collaboration with Bayer regarding their controlled release system and within the ophthalmology field. And that deal was announced maybe 11 months ago. Healthtec make a strategic partnership with US-based Provention Bio in type 1 diabetes. Herantis Pharma collaborates with Renishaw to conduct their first, and I think also co-finance their clinical study of CDNF in Parkinson's disease. Russian company BioCAD announced collaboration with the University of Turku and Åbo Academy University, and they also announced that they will establish a manufacturing facility here in Turku. And Forendo Pharma was awarded in the European Venture Summit earlier this year. Then Apomix, so this is not drug development anymore. So Apomix signs a collaboration agreement with one of the biggest laboratory chains in Europe, Synlab, in the field of pharmacogenetics. And we got the Synlab's presentation here today as well. Combinostics wins Digital Health Pioneers Award by SAP. Health Campus Turku and MSD make a framework agreement to optimize the care chain, and University of Turku and Boehringer Ingelheim collaborate on lung cancer research. Then we switch to diagnostics and medtech. So Arctia signs a distribution agreement which is Maripoc Systems with the Panama-based company, which is also delivering Arctia's Maripoc to elsewhere in Central America. Medicortex announced that it will start its first clinical trial for their diagnostic kit for brain injury, traumatic brain injury. Revenue Group, their iCare's home tonometer was approved in the USA, and the asthma product Ventica was issued a CE mark in Europe. Abacus Diagnostica also launched a new norovirus test in the EU. A Salo-based diagnostic company Salofa introduced the blue-green algae test to test swimming and drinking waters. The test was developed by the University of Turku and VTT together. Findent, Helsinki-based company, announced a big deal of 200 Phantom Dental teaching units to ACTA, which is one of the largest dental educational centers in the whole Europe. And Optomed received a grant in World Bank's Tech Merger initiative to pilot its ophthalmic imaging systems in India. We remember that Optomed was one of the heavy growth companies, and this is probably one of the reasons why. And Reagena signed a distribution agreement in Benelux, Germany and Austria for its products. Then some financial figures. iTest sales grew 37.6% last year, up to almost 24 million euros, and incredible 47.5% net operating profit, meaning that diagnostics or manufacturing reagents can be extremely profitable. Then revenue grew, their sales grew also 15% to 23.4 million, and operation profit also healthy 30%. Merivaara's Q-Flow surgical light won the Red Dot Award for high quality design, and that's to help fighting hospital-associated infections. So that was the kind of the good achievements, and now I switch to funding, which in this presentation I call fuel. So Faron Pharmaceuticals, Turku-based company listed in London, raised £8 million through a placing and subscription almost a year ago. Mobidiag, whose presentation we will get or hear later today, secured 50 million euros from European Investment Bank to accelerate the launch of its in vitro diagnostic tests. And Herantis Pharma was awarded by Horizon 2020 a grant of 6 million to conduct their phase 1 and 2 studies in Parkinson's. Biocomputing platforms raised 10 million euros from Teollisuus Sijoitus and Swiss Devio Farm to accelerate their platform, which integrates clinical and genomic data. Valo Therapeutics closed 8 million, in fact, funding round, 2 funding rounds in a row, which prepares their phase 1 trial of their novel oncolytic virus-based cancer immunotherapy. Nightingale Health, which formerly was named BrainShake, also raised 5.5 million euros in 2 funding rounds, Series A and 2, last year or during the past year. And Decentum completed a Series A funding round of almost 2 million euros. Aurealis Pharma last week also announced 5.6 million Swiss francs, which is a different count, but it's close to 3 million euros funding from Swiss and Finnish investors to advance their chronic wound and oncology products. And then Remote A, a company who is developing smart egg and algorithm-based software to automatically analyze ECG, has also raised 1.2 million. PCB Medical received substantial funding from Sweden, Tesi, and they plan to increase their employee count from 50 to 100 in 3 years. A New Icon, Kuopio-based medtech company providing systems for pharmacies, raised 4.5 million in crowdfunding, and this is probably one of the biggest crowdfunding fundings that we have had, especially in the health tech area. And Biomensio closed 2.5 million funding round as well, and Biomensio makes from small liquid samples multiple tests. Inject, kind of the smart needle company, raised more than 1.6 million crowdfunding round. Nona Healthcare completed 1.5 million seed round. Hobbit raised 1.2 million seed funding, and then also Finnic, Medicorex, Healthtec, and Kide Systems announced smaller funding and crowdfunding rounds. They didn't disclose, all of these didn't disclose the numbers. Then we switched to mergers and acquisitions, and of course one of the biggest acquisition was conducted by Japanese WDB Holdings company. They acquired MedFiles. We will have a presentation of MedFiles later today, so maybe we'll hear some news about this as well. And then, interestingly, the Finnish bedded sleep tracking device manufacturer was acquired by Apple Inc. I must say that the bedded system was on already sale through Apple's platform earlier. Then Ceres Group acquired a majority of shares of Innokas Medical. PCB Medical earlier this month acquired Corami's 15D, which covers the patient-related quality care results at the population level. Statfin and Epit Research merged to provide better services for the customers in clinical data analytics and real-world evidence. And last but not least, Ginolis. Verso Ventures acquired 22.4% share of Ginolis. I think this was the former Yacht Automation's ownership, but they also follow up with a new investment in the company. So competition is hard. Sometimes it's a seller's market, but many times it is really a buyer's market today. In this event in Ruissalo, that could be a seller's market. So a short comparison between EU and US public company data in the biotech sector. So as normally, US is doing better than Europe. So the revenues and market cap in the US is about 4 times bigger than in the EU. And if you look at the figures, you can see that since 2013, US has been growing pretty fast. Europe has a little bit stagnated, although 2016 was a record for us. So there are almost 450 public companies in the US and 259 in the EU, and US also has twice the number of employees than EU. Then the medtech. Total medtech revenue 2015 was $335 billion, and about 40% of that belonged to conglomerates, which means companies having other businesses as well, like Danaher or Nikon. And more than half belongs to pure play commercial leaders, which companies whose turnover is more than 500 million euros or dollars, and then in fact there are only 58 of those companies, and 41 of those are located in the US. So US dominates also the medtech horizon. Then the smaller pure play companies, they represent only less than 18 billion dollars, and out of that about 13 billion belongs to US companies and 4 billion to European companies. Then the IPO scene in 2016, so in the medtech field. No, this is biotech. Both US and EU had the same level of IPOs. We remember that especially last year, US made record high IPOs. I think there were 45 of them. So they came down a lot this year. But distinctive in this is that if you look at compare US IPOs and European IPOs, Europeans the IPOs they make IPO at later stages and like in phase 2 or phase 3. They also there are companies who make services, technologies, or provide research tools. They are more prominent in EU. So companies who kind of already generate cash. In the medtech IPOs, this is from end of or July 15 to end of June 2016. So a little bit of old figures. Altogether, only 15 IPOs in the medtech in EU and US were made. In the Far East, there were more. But US medtech made 6 IPOs, and interestingly, in these figures there are 3 Swedish IPOs: Immunovia, Invet Medic, who all made really small IPOs, but this is the amount raised. So it's the full valuation. Then if we compare the IPO sizes, US biotechs, their median and average size is about 56 million. European biotech average is about 31 and a median 29, but in the medtech sector there is more. The median is 17 million dollars, which is considerably lower than in the biotech sector. The big average, about 39 million euros, is kind of explained by the fact that there was one Israeli company who made almost 200 million IPO in 2016. Very quickly to the global IVD market. It's exceeded for the first time $16 billion in 2016, and there is a split of the market in 2015. So basically, point of care comprises of 28%, and then clinical chemistry 26%, and immunochemistry 26%. So these 3 dominate the market. The rest is kind of split more evenly between hematology, microbiology, genetic testing, and others. If I remember right, genetic testing is rising. In the EU, there are some, of course, market drivers are, of course, the aging population in Europe, spreading of infectious diseases due to many reasons, due to more travel, due to the refugee problem, and other things. But probably mainly due to that people just travel more than they used to do like 10 years ago. And also shift towards personalized medicine means that there is a demand for new IVD products. And one thing is also is benefit of EU is that we got a better regulatory environment, or let's say easier regulatory environment or guidelines than the US has. We will have a more detailed presentation also about that later in the afternoon. Okay, let's turn back to Finland and so we can see cold weathers and sailing in there really in Finnish environment requires stamina for people and from companies. So if I think I have shown this almost every year and the figures look the same. European venture capital has been quite steady since 2009, whereas Finland's venture capital investments in life sciences seem to be decreasing all the time. We had a peak in 2014 when we had a couple of companies who made their IPO, and the existing venture capitalists had to invest more. So that kind of changed the picture. But if we take that away, we can see a decreasing trend, which I'm really worried about. So, in fact, Finland, with the record low 2016 venture capital investment, represents only 1.26% of EU life sciences venture capital investments total. In the US, the early phase investments like Seed A and Seed and Series A, they accounted about $2.8 billion. So if we compare the dotted line in here, hopefully, yeah, this represents Europe in general and as an average. Red line means Denmark, and our western neighbor Sweden is in the brown line. We can see that comparing the Finnish red line, we remain constantly far below all these two. So our neighbors, below our neighbors, and below the European average. So in fact, investments per company in Denmark and Sweden are about 3 times bigger than in Finland. European average investment is 1.9 million euros, and Finland less than 500,000 euros. In the US, only the Seed and Series A investments, they are about $1.5 million per company. Well, then I was looking at the stock prices. So we got 7 biotech stocks in Helsinki, or 6 in Helsinki and 1 in London, Baren in London Stock Exchange, and I was thinking, how did they perform last year? So last week of August 29 to August 29 this year, and I reduced how do you say that fixed, so that everybody had an index of 1, and then last year's August, and the development was like that, and then I combined and made the Biotech 7 index, and it seems that it performed well. Then I planned that, okay, let's compare it to OMX Helsinki index. So in fact, it seemed that the biotech index was far better than the HEX index in general. So if you would have been investing 1,000 euro in all of these 7 biotech companies that we have listed in Finland, you would have gained almost 13,000 euros this year. But if you would have invested 7,000 to the HEX index, that would have been worth 7.7 thousand euros. Of course, this doesn't take into account dividends, but I think Ryan also made a strong dividend in the biotech index. So at least when you think about the last year, the biotech stock, they were for Healthtec stock, they performed extremely well. Interestingly, in Finland, thanks to the SOTE discussion that we have had lots of privatization and lots of investments. In fact, 1.5 million investments in private doctors' offices and private healthcare providers. So these figures are I have derived from Talouselämä magazine, which show the top 20 company figures. So the turnover has grown steadily in the past 10 years, and now about 2.7 billion euros, and employee count also 2,500 or 25,000. Yes. So this means raises a question: is there already, have we overlooked that in fact the domestic market with this much purchasing power, do we have in fact for once we have a growing scene for medtech innovations as to pilot in Finland. So these I think private companies might be more flexible in doing innovative purchasing than public companies or public institutions. Okay, what about the future? I've got only 2 or 3 slides left, so don't worry, Saara. So Vishal Gulati from Draper Esprit mentioned that the future of health will arise from the joint enterprise of patients and health professionals using digital technologies, harnessing aggregated data. So patients and health professionals together and using digital technologies. So, but I think this is not the news for anyone. We know that digitalization is already in here. Then Lisa Zuen of GE Ventures, by an interview by EY, said that they are interested in companies who improve patient or provider experience, outcomes, financial and operations management of healthcare organizations, meaning they want to invest in health IT enabled services, life sciences tools, and non-invasive medical devices. Non-invasive medical devices. This my own thought is that how about big data? We remember that Apple acquired Bedit, which sleep tracking device manufacturer. What else could you do than just to measure? Maybe Apple had some ideas to do something else, that not just your how deep you're sleeping, but maybe your motions or the sensors will tell you a lot more. IBM or Senior, they collaborate with Senior Tech, basically what's to improve home care. And I was talking to Senior Tech people, and they said that in fact they got a tracking device inside your homes that say that okay, the patient is moving, and when you compare the data, maybe after medication, if the moving decreases, means that the medication is not working well. If the movement of the patient increases, means that he or she probably isn't well shaped. So maybe with these just simple tracking devices, you can develop many kinds of data. And I was talking last April with 2 Chinese venture capitalist companies, and they were interested in life sciences companies, but they said that they are looking to invest in companies which generate big data, not only utilize it. So if you have a device or system which creates big data, you should really think twice what to do with your data. Is it worth something else that you are planning to do with it? So with these wishes, I hope you all will have a good day. Thank you for your